Good morning. Welcome to another video from Justice Vanguard. This time for Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, where we're going to highlight some people in the community, some stories, and someone that we both find is a really influential person in music and in a lot of culture, Mike Shinoda.
Yeah, so Mike Shinoda, one of the core founders of Linkin Park, which continues to influence bands to this day, such as Bring Me the Horizon and I Prevail, as well as a bunch of other rap artists.
They're also a pioneer because before there was Patreon, they had the underground, which for them was a way to connect to their fans and get to kind of show the band in a different light by having people kind of subscribe, which is what you have now is Patreon, OnlyFans, other things like that as well.
Yeah, it's really cool that they led the way to such a successful thing that we all use today. Another thing that I really love about him is not just the work he did with Linkin Park, but his side project. Keenan, I know since you do rap, Fort Minor, right?
Legendary track.
Yeah, there was one song, especially off that album, that I really connected to, which was Kenji.
I have to tell it, but I know what it means. Close your eyes, just picture the scene as I paint it for you. It was World War II when this man.
It tells a story about his family back in World War II and what it was like as an Asian American, which I thought was very interesting because, a lot of the time it's Black voices, Black stories being told. But here we have an Asian American kind of telling about the plight of what they went through.
To the home and what they saw made them feel so alone. These people had trashed every room, smashed in the windows and bashed in the doors, written on the walls and the floor, Japs not welcome anymore.
And I recommend it to everyone, but we have a friend here whose family actually went through that. Take it away, Coco.
Hi, my name is Cordelia Larson, and I am a descendant of internment through my mother's side. My grandmother, Tomiko, was interned as a child with her two brothers and sisters and her mom and her dad. They originally went to the Tanfran Assembly Center, and then from there were sent to Topaz, and from there to Tule Lake, which was the hard labor detention camp for dissenters who marked no and no on the very problematic questionnaire that prisoners were given in these camps. My grandfather immigrated to the country at 14 and therefore was not a Japanese citizen, or was not an American citizen rather. And because of this, even though he wanted desperately to be an American citizen, he was seen as a threat, no matter what he did. And this meant the imprisonment of not just himself, but his wife, who was an American citizen, and their 3 small children. My grandmother was very quiet about the whole thing, very stoic. As much of their generation, was, they were taught to keep their heads down and be quiet about it. You don't talk about things that are shameful, and to them, the incarceration was shameful. But she did tell me some stories about seeing tanks rolling by their schoolyard and of a soldier pointing a gun at her head when she was 7 for reaching through the fence to grab a flower for her mother. That was the sort of threat of violence that they constantly lived under while in the incarceration camps of World War II. I will forever tell my grandparents' story to keep this memory alive and to continue to educate the public about why this can never happen again and why we mustn't forget our past. Thank you to Keenan and Kiyoshi for tapping in with me, for me to share my family's story, and to all my fellow AAPI community members out there. Keep your strength up, keep your chin up, and rely on your fellow community members, because we never have to do this alone. We get to be as vocal and as connected as we want to be. So as we say in the Japanese American community, come on. Thanks, guys.
Thank you guys so much for listening to our stories, listening to our ramblings. And we got Juneteenth coming up, right?
Yeah, we have Juneteenth. We're really excited for it. Last year was awesome. This year is going to be incredible as well. So show up, let's bring the community together, have a good time, and have some purpose with it as well. Yep. As always, stay tuned.
Plenty of education on that as well, and also plenty of education on Pride Month as well. So look forward to being with y'all.
Always a lot happening. Take care, y'all.
Someday. Now the names have been changed, but the story's true. My family was locked up back in 42. My family was there where it was dark and damp, and they called it an internment camp.
When we first got back from camp, it was pretty bad.
I remember my husband said, "Oh, we're going to stay till last." Then my husband died before they closed the camp.